Right now, you are almost certainly not on anyone's menu. No animal on Earth is stalking you through the grass, waiting to strike. That safety feels normal, but it is actually a biological anomaly. To see how a landscape operates without human interference, we have to look back at the first day of a 100-day desert tank experiment. When a prey population, like these darkling beetles, begins to boom, a predator must eventually emerge to call the population and restore harmony to the tank. For the organisms at the bottom of this terrarium, existence is dictated by the constant avoidance of being eaten. It is a rule of nature we assume no longer applies to us. For 99% of our history, the Earth functioned exactly like that desert tank, and our ancestors were the ones trapped at the bottom. Popular history often paints early humans as dominant, aggressive hunters at the top of the food chain. The reality hidden in the fossil record is much more vulnerable. When we look for what was killing us, the most dramatic predators often leave the least evidence. A lion or a saber-toothed cat kill usually results in the entire body being consumed or scattered, leaving no clear trail for us to follow. To find our true historical predator, we have to look for the specific, recurring smucking guns left behind on the bones that survived. Early hominins were tied to riverbanks for water, exposing them to predictable and devastating ambushes. Fossils of our ancestors have been found with the distinct puncture marks left by crocodile teeth, evidence of a threat that was constant but limited to the water's edge. Moving away from the river only exchanged one threat for another. On the open ground, our ancestors faced a predator that struck from the sky. In 1924, researchers in South Africa uncovered the skull of a young Australopithecus africanus, dating back nearly 3 million years. The town child's skull featured unexplained scratches and punctures until scientists matched the patterns to the talons of a massive bird of prey. Ancient eagles were large enough to snatch a primate-sized child directly off the ground and carry it into the air to be eaten. Survival for our ancestors depended on the same terrified hiding behaviors we see in the insects of the desert tank. The most persistent threat was finally identified in the 1970s, when paleontologist Bob Brain examined a skull fragment from Swartkrans Cave, known as SK-54. The back of this hominin skull featured 2 perfectly spaced puncture marks. Brain matched those punctures to the lower canine teeth of an ancient leopard. Leopards are built for stalking silently and striking in a single decisive burst. They specialize in dragging slow, tree-dwelling primates away to eat in private. AI-assisted bite mark analysis on fossils from multiple sites shows that this same pattern repeats across different hominin populations for millions of years. The silent, patient leopard, not the roaring lion, is the definitive proof that human evolution was driven by the pressures of being hunted. We see the end of this era by studying modern hunter-gatherer groups like the Hadza, who still live in environments surrounded by apex predators. This chart shows how predation rates have shifted. In detailed mortality studies of these modern groups, the number of confirmed deaths caused by wild animal attacks is nearly 0. The real killers today are diseases we cannot see, and violence from other humans. The animals have faded into the background. This drop in mortality reveals a clean break in our history. Somewhere along our timeline, the animals stopped looking at us as a meal. Humanity is the only species to find a way out of the predator-prey cycle. We figured out how to break the rules of the terrarium. Fire was the first step. It allowed us to hold back the nocturnal ambush predators that had hunted us for eons. Then came weapons. Early stone tools transformed hominins from soft targets into lethal adversaries. Finally, complex social living provided constant vigilance. With more eyes watching the dark, the leopard's ambush became ineffective. We didn't simply climb to the top of the food chain. We used innovation to permanently shatter the glass of the terrarium we were born into.